Hi, and welcome to Watch It Played. My name is Rodney Smith, and in this video, we're going to learn the 1 to 2 player game, Dogfight, Rule the Skies in 20 Minutes, designed by Carlo A. Rossi and published by Floodgate Games, who helped sponsor this video. Strapped into your biplane as bullets whiz past, you're in the fight of your life against a rival pilot during World War I. But if you can get into the right position, you might be able to down your enemies, survive this fight, and take to the skies once more. So join me at the table, and let's learn how to play. To set up, place the double-sided board in the middle of the play area. This side shows a water section, but they recommend using the other side for your first game, as we'll do here. You then have each player sit on either of these ends of the board. There are several different planes, but for your first game, they recommend having one person fly red and the other blue, so we'll return the rest back to the box. Each player then collects the matching colored player aid and what is known as their movement tiles, along with a player's screen, bag, and 7 red damage cubes. The board has 2 starting spaces which both show a plane symbol. Each player picks one of these to set their plane into, facing in the same direction as the icon. Now add all of your movement tiles to your bag and give them a good mix. Each player then draws 6 random movement tiles from their bag, setting them behind their player screen where their opponent can't see them. And that's the setup. Dogfight Rule the Skies in 20 Minutes can be played a number of different ways, but here we're going to focus on the standard dogfight mode, and then after give you a quick summary of some of the other options you can explore. Here, you and your opponent will be playing movement tiles, trying to get into a position where you can hit them, deal damage, and shoot them down. The game is played for 3 rounds, or until a plane is knocked out of the sky, and a round is made up of 5 turns. And each turn is broken into 2 phases, starting with planning and movement. Here, each player secretly picks one of the tiles behind their screen and puts it into a closed fist. When both players are ready, they reveal them simultaneously. For most tiles, it doesn't matter which side you show face up because the front and the backs are the same. The exception are the value 3 tiles. These have a straight arrow on one side and a curved arrow on the other. And you must pick which one of those sides you're going to use for the turn before the tiles are revealed. To do this, I ensure the side I've picked is face up in my hand, so when I open it, it's clear that's the side I'm using. With the tiles revealed, each player looks at the value showing on the tile they chose and moves their plane forward that exact number of spaces. And the spaces are these various colored circles. With each move, you always follow the direction of the arrows that create this large loop, and you never change the facing of your plane. You'll notice there are 2 smaller inner loops, but these you only enter in a special way that we'll discuss in a moment. And you can never enter these solid blue spaces. Those are for the advanced rules that we'll discuss later. Just keep in mind you can enter, move past, or even finish your move on the same space as your opponent's plane. And every space is always counted while moving. So here I'd move 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces, and my opponent would move 1, 2 spaces. With the moves complete, each player adds their tile to the leftmost empty red-bordered space of the track on their side of the board. And keep in mind, these outlined spaces are ignored in the standard game. And that covers movement for all situations except one. We saw that the value 3 tile has 2 different sides. If you reveal it with this side face up, then your plane advances 3 spaces as normal. However, you might reveal it with this loop side face up. If so, you'll still move exactly 3 spaces, but will now enter one of these inner loops from a space showing this loop symbol. But the catch is that you must be able to reach a space showing the loop symbol and have enough movement left over to enter the loop itself. In other words, if I was here, I couldn't play the 3 with this loop side because moving 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3, would only get me to here, but not into the inner loop itself. If you end your move inside of the loop, like we have here, any tile can be played on a future turn to allow you to follow the arrows exiting the loop. Just keep in mind, the side of a value 3 tile that you reveal is the side you must resolve. You can't decide after seeing your opponent's tile that you wish to switch to the other side. And with that, we've learned the planning and movement phase of a turn. Each player picks one tile from behind their screen, they're revealed at the same time, and their planes are moved the exact distances on the tiles they chose. Then it's time for the shooting phase of a turn. Here, you check 3 requirements to see if either plane can shoot. First, a shooting plane must be behind their target. A plane is considered behind if it's up to 3 spaces away from its target, counting in an anti-clockwise direction. My opponent is here, and I am 2 spaces away, anti-clockwise, so that's the first criteria satisfied. On the other hand, if you are on the same space as your opponent, or 4 or more spaces away, like this, you can't shoot. Okay, so that's one criteria for shooting. You must be behind your opponent. The second requirement is that you must both be on spaces that share the same color. Many of the spaces are a single color, but some will show 2, and if so, they're considered to be both of those colors. In a case like this, I'm on a white space, and my opponent is on a space with white, so this shooting requirement is fulfilled. But let's say my target was here. This is the only brown space on the map, so they can't be shot from here, even if I'm technically behind them. Thematically, you can think of this angle as being too sharp for an attack. If I was here on this purple space, I can shoot a plane here because I'm both behind them, and these are both purple spaces. Now, if my opponent was here, they can't shoot me because although they're behind me, I'm on a purple space, and they're not. In this example, both planes are on white spaces, but don't forget the first requirement. You must be 1 to 3 spaces behind your target. In this case, I'm 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces away, and so are they. That means neither of us can shoot. Also remember, you can't shoot a plane if you're on the same space as them. Okay, there's one last requirement. To shoot, the tile you played must have at least one of these damage symbols on it. In this case, I'm behind my opponent, our spaces share a matching color, and my movement tile has at least one burst symbol. So that's a successful shot. I'd now deal a number of hits to the enemy plane equal to the burst symbols on the tile I played. 2 in this case. For each hit a plane takes, that player adds a damage cube to the leftmost empty spaces of their sheet here. If a plane ever has damage on all 7 spaces, it's been shot down and their opponent wins. Once both players have moved and resolved the shooting phase, the turn is over and you start a new one. But players do not draw new tiles from their bag. Instead, they must pick one from the remaining tiles they have behind their screen. In this way, you know exactly what options you'll have to choose from for the entire round, and you'll want to think about the best tiles to pick and in what order. It can also be helpful to consider what tiles your opponent might have. Every plane has its own unique combination of movement tiles, and you'll find these summarized right here on your player aid, and both players can examine these at any time. Here you'll see the possible movement tile values, which go from 0 to 6. And the values here at the top show you how many copies of each your plane has. For example, this blue plane has 0 value tiles, but it has 4 value tiles. Well, the red plane only has 2 value tiles. In each of these columns, you'll also see how much damage each of the tiles do. Just to make it very clear, I've laid out all of the movement tiles for the blue plane, just so you can see how they line up with this chart. You can see, as an example, that the blue plane has a value 4 tile that does 2 damage, another that does 1 damage, and then 2 more that do no damage. And again, you'll see this reflected here in the tiles. This value here at the top inside of a burst symbol represents how much total damage your plane is capable of, and this value beside it tells you how many of your movement tiles can create damage. So again, this knowledge can help you plan ahead as you take turns. Speaking of which, a round ends after 5 turns of playing and resolving tiles. As a reminder, you'll see all 5 red spaces on your side of the board filled with your movement tiles. Now, if this was the end of the 3rd round, the game would end. But if not, you set all of the tiles you played this round into a single stack off to the side, ensuring that the last tile you played is set on top. You then draw 5 new tokens randomly from your bag, adding them to the 1 tile you had left over from the previous round. And then a new round of 5 turns begins. At the end of that round, assuming a plane hasn't been shot down yet, you again remove the played tiles from the board into set-aside stacks, and then draw all of the remaining tiles from your bag. This will give you exactly 5 tiles behind your screen for the last 5 potential turns of the game. because the game can end in one of two possible ways. If a plane is shot down, the surviving player is declared the winner. Alternatively, if it's the end of the third round and neither plane has been shot down, the player who has taken the fewest hits is the winner. In the case of a tie for hits, the battle is declared a draw. And that's how you play the standard game of Dogfight. So let's take a moment and examine the other side of the board. This advanced side has a slightly different layout where the main path is divided into two colors, white and green. And this means planes on opposite sides will not easily be able to shoot each other. Here, my target is on a green space and I'm on a white and purple space. So even though I'm behind them, I can't shoot. Beyond a new map, there are also 7 other included planes you can use in place of the red and blue ones. Each of these have their own piece, player aid, and unique combination of movement tiles. Not only that, most have special rules. For example, with this plane, the symbols here at the top remind you that at the very beginning of the game, when you're first drawing 6 tiles from your bag, you can pick any number of them to discard. You then draw an equal number of replacements and put the discarded tiles back into your bag. Also, this plane has tiles that allow it to move 0 spaces. But the effect here at the bottom reminds you that after playing a value 0 tile, on your very next turn, you must either play a 1 or 2 valued movement tile. If you can't, your plane immediately crashes and you lose the game. We're not going to go through the abilities for all the planes in this video, but you'll find them detailed here in the rulebook if you have questions while playing, and there are also visual reminders on the inside of your player screen. The game also comes with a variety of unique scenarios you can play, with each person taking on a unique role. This here is the espionage scenario. This has you placing these enemy sight tiles into the outlined spaces of the board. One player will be the spy, trying to fly over these spaces, taking pictures to collect them. Once they've collected 4, they can then follow this path to get their plane past this exit space to fly off the board and win. There's also a bombing, rescue, and escort scenario, and even rules for solo play, which allow you to play any of the advanced scenarios all on your own against an enemy plane controlled by the solo rules. But all of those rules I'll leave for you to discover on your own. Otherwise, that's everything you need to know to play Dogfight, Rule the Skies in 20 minutes. If you have any questions about anything you saw here, feel free to put them in the comments below and I'll gladly answer them as soon as I get a chance. You'll also find forums for discussion, pictures, other videos, and lots more over on the games page at Board Game Geek, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. And if you found this video helpful, please consider giving it a like, subscribing, and clicking that little bell icon so you get notification anytime we post a new video. And if you'd like to support us directly, you can join our Patreon team, which I'll have linked below. But until next time, thanks for watching.